Christmas to everyone out there and happy holidays. Currently it's Christmas Eve, and I'm going to try something new. This is an alcoholic drink called Flying Monkeys. Yeah, look at that bright, colorful design. Triple IPA, it says. For all this, exposure to alcohol I have, I'm really not much of a drinker myself. What's it say here? Defender of the Universe. Galaxy Starfighter. This cat with laser beams shooting, rainbow colored laser beams shooting it out of its eyes. Brought to you by the Flying Monkey Company. Normal is weird, it says. Craft breweries. Yeah, I'm not much of an alcohol drinker, truth be told. I'm borderline a teetotaler. It's sad but true. It's just, the thing is, well, I just not part of my life. So seldom do I drink anything, but it's a holiday. It's Christmas Eve, and I'm gonna try something new. That, and I also did recently see that movie Wicked, and I have a review of that film as well. Shiz University, they called it. That's what the university they were attending. Shiz. It was called Shiz University. Faux shizzle. Hey, look, way in the background there. It's a smoke alarm that has its battery sticking out. That's not useful. But it's also very annoying to have, that chirping sound. How can you stand to live like that, where just the chirping noise going off all the time, and people are like, oh, what's that? Is it a bird? Oh, I don't know. Or maybe it's a flying monkey. Well, excuse me. Well, we're about to find out. Yeah, I did go to Western University. It was a good place. Very educational, certainly. The tricky part is I didn't really get, much job offers after I graduated. But you don't want to hear my life story. I'm not here to moan about, past problems. I'm here to just have fun. It's Christmas Eve. Let's all get in a good holly jolly mood, I say. Whoa. Now this is foamy. Definitely an alcoholic scent to it, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's beer, all right. Yep. Yeah, it definitely has that strong alcohol sort of flavor to it. Triple IPA. Or is it IPA? It says here on the label, triple IPA. Now, what does that stand for, I wonder? Triple strength of regular beer? Because there are some types of beer I do enjoy. Some alcoholic drinks. There's the mud shake, which is, basically like a milkshake. It's alcoholic. It comes in all sorts of flavors: chocolate, vanilla, butterscotch, and was it Palm Bay? That very fruity, cooler. Those are fun. Oh yes, and of course, Crazy Uncle root beer, which is alcoholic root beer. Big fan of those because I am a big fan of root beer. It's a lot of the fruit flavored drinks, all sorts of soda. I'm a big fan of soda, of course. It does have that flavor to it, doesn't it? Taste of alcohol. Very strongly alcoholic, I should think. And generally, apparently, well, that's the thing with alcohol. It's the intoxication and party atmosphere with all your friends. That's the real selling point, from what I understand. But you can drink when you're alone as well. That's fine too. But you know what? Truth be told, there's so much variety of sodas out there which are non-alcoholic, and I like those much more because maybe I just didn't come here for the alcohol. You know what I'm saying? Try and see what color it is. Mm. Mm. Definitely has a good flavor to it. Yeah, look at that thing. Look at that thing. Mm. I'm just gonna go get a shot glass. Here we have a decorative glass. Captain Morgan, the pirate, and his special brand of rum. Now we can take a good look and see what color this liquid is. Ooh, very foamy, very heady, or something. Now, okay, it's not like any like wild color. Yellow's an okay sort of thing, a shade of yellow, as one might expect for beer. It's not like it's coming out green and people get it confused with absinthe or something like that. No, that's not the case. But yeah, it's definitely beer, that's for sure. Get a good look at the color, the carbonation, the foam of it all. It's all very nice. Very nice. Of course, oh, you could add ice to these things, but then they say that waters it down and makes it unappealing. So, you know, I don't know. Not quite sure how to go about that. It's pretty good. Okay for beer, I should think. Shiz University, a wilder, magical place with talking goats as their professors. A bit wilder than Western University. You'd think the wild, wild West would be the place to go for wildness, but no, not in the Western. Which is not to say I have anything ill will to them. Not at all. It's not their fault. It's more the market, job market, I should think. Here I was with a very specific degree that wasn't really applicable to any other fields, and it was only a bachelor's degree, and I really botched the job interview, and bad things like that happened. But I then went back to a different post-secondary place. I went to Fanshawe College. Now their program that was simple and straight to the point for the job market was, and for a time I was employed in the automotive industry. And I gotta tell you, I learned all I could learn about rear differentials, as they say, which is basically like the hip bone of the car. And I was like, oh my, what a mechanism that is. And I should probably take better care of my car too, now that I think about it. Get the oil checked, gotta get that rust removed, gotta keep it clean on the inside, and all that stuff. If only one of my cats could do that, huh? Yeah. I recently had pizza and beer. Here I am with a receding hairline, drinking pizza and beer. Truly, I have become a good, full-grown adult. And yet, I still spend my free time watching cartoons. But reading books is fun too. Audiobooks. And like I said before with my Wizard of Oz review, these books, some of them come across as tremendously infantile. They are well thought out. L. Frank Baum does have clever ideas, whimsical and fanciful ideas. Some even have a sort of internal logical consistency. Simply put, all the magic you see on display has an overarching explanation. Simply put, fairies did it. Fairies are a real thing, and fairies did it, that made it happen as it is in Oz. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. That's what I keep doing when I read these books. I just shrug and I'm like, okay, whatever. And like I said before about that other review, this one story about magic and such, like one nation was being invaded by another nation, and these bad guys, they built a giant robot. Essentially, you could call it a robot because it was like made of metal, supposedly. It is artificial, but it is of a human form and in the size of a giant. So it's basically a giant war machine robot, and it goes marching and stomping towards the enemies. But you'll notice there are some tremendous design flaws to the robot. Because for one, if it falls over, it can't get itself back up. Not exactly. And what's more, it's made of some sort of skin that's just as sensitive as human flesh. Like, you can poke at it and it'll complain. You can pick it with a pin and it literally says ow because you poked it. And you can even tickle it and it'll laugh. And this was supposed to be a war machine. And to make matters worse, you have to consider the size difference between it and normal human beings. So, relative to the size, it's actually more sensitive than human flesh. Like, more sensitive. Like, if someone was poking me, like a little bug was poking me, I might barely notice that. But the giant noticed it. And I gotta say, the story was so dumb. They just tricked the robot into rolling over on its side and push it back the way it came. And because it has no guidance system or anything intellectual in it, it simply walked whichever direction it was pointing to, and it marched back to its home, stomped its homeland to destruction, and then kept marching right into the ocean. And supposedly it sunk right to the bottom, and that's where it is right now. And that is one of the stories that L. Frank Baum wrote. And I find it also very infantile and just silly. It was almost like the story was written for kids or something. Maybe it was, yeah. Of course, there's the many sequels to the Wizard of Oz story. Some just want to straight up retcon events, and some want to, change everything up. I'm quite certain that Wicked is not canon with the original writings of L. Frank Baum. It's like over nearly 100 years difference between the two, I should think. And retcons the motivations and characters, and even who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in the story. Additionally, there's plenty of fan fiction, I should think. There's something called The Cowardly Lion and the Badge of Courage. I meant to get around to reading that one. Supposedly, it was adapted into cartoons. All these things have been adapted into cartoons or some other medium, I should think. Wizard of Oz, and of course there's the movie from the 1930s. It was so famous and shockingly amazing with its full Technicolor brilliance and all that stuff. And it was wild. And of course they did change things and made, made all the changes to the story that, people have been latching onto and focusing on. For one, as I said before, the Wicked Witch of the West is not even necessarily green-skinned. That's something they made for the movie because, it's in Technicolor and they can do that now. So they might as well go ahead. Same with the ruby slippers. They were silver in the books, but since it's Technicolor, they can do shiny red rubies. And of course, Oz is a story that has all about colorization and vivid colors, and it's something they obsess over so much. The Yellow Brick Road, the Emerald City, and the many subdivisions of the Kingdom of Oz, Munchkin Land, Gillikin Land, Winky Land, which apparently, that's the name of those guards who were guarding the witch's fortress. Those are called Winkies. Gotta come up with a better name than that, people, I gotta tell you. And needless to say, they were also not necessarily described as green in the book, because then this creates a plot hole between the theatrical film from the 30s and Wicked, because clearly she is not the only green-skinned person in the world. Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, she's not the only green skinned person in the world. There's an entire country of green skinned people, and then they're like, okay, you're the boss. You're the best and most powerful witch in all the world. So we're going to make you the boss, and you're going to tell us what to do. Let's build her a castle. And all the flying monkeys are like, well, this again, more work for us. Oh. Flying monkey drink. Go. Oh man, you can tell I'm not much of an alcohol guy, you know. I mean, I try these things out on occasion, like maybe when it's a party or a special gift as a drink. But you know, I don't make a habit of it, and that's probably good for my health and good for my wallet, I should think. What really sucks is when homeless people have drug addictions. Because not only were they struggling financially, now they got the addiction problems, which could also be financially taxing. And people get themselves into so much trouble, and it's real sad. My mother told me this story about a homeless lady who was camping out, full on sleeping in front of a shopping mall district. And this lady, she just pisses wherever she feels and just takes a squat. And I told you before this one story, I'm not even sure if he was homeless, but he certainly was begging. He walked up to me in the middle of the night when I was parking my car next to the burger place. He's like, "Can I have some change and money? I really want to go buy a burger." And I scrounged around in my car, and I said, "I'm sorry, this isn't much, but that's all I could find." And then he's like, "That's not good enough." He chucks the coin right back at me and then kicks my car. And I'm like, dude. And as others have pointed out, he was a young man. Like, he was able-bodied. He could get a job. I had a job. I just got back from my work. In fact, I mean, that was it. I was literally after my shift at work, and I was going to get a hamburger for lunch, poutine and such. And, if he had asked nicely, I might have even shared it because, it was a large enough meal. But no. He wanted to chuck the coin right at me. There's times when I doubt how good of a person I am. Like, am I generous enough? Am I being kind enough to others? Am I being charitable? But then my family and peers, they praise and congratulate me when I do nice things. So maybe I am okay. It's an alright drink. I wouldn't call it my favorite, no. It's an okay drink, but I wouldn't really call it my favorite. It's got, maybe alcohol's just not my thing, Now, some really fun stuff that I've tried before. There was that soda. I still have some bottles of it. The Halloween special limited edition Beetlejuice Fanta featuring the flavor Haunted Apple. I shared that with my family, and they were like, wow. They were like, what is this? This is so weird. They tasted it. Why is it green? Oh. Now, if this drink had been green, a big, bright, green thing, oh, that'd be wild to see. What do you suppose absinthe is like? I've been told it's like the super hard drink, like stronger than wine and alcohol and beer. And like supposedly there's like debates about the history of this sort of thing. It's an old-timey sort of drink, absinthe. And they say there's debates saying it's not really that bad. It's just the people who were winemakers and such, they were trying to corner the market, and they're like, no, we can't have this cheaply made whatever stuff outselling our product. So we gotta like convince the public that this is a public menace. We have to convince the public that this is not good for you, and it's too strong, it's too potent, it'll mess with your brain. And they're like, we should get this stuff banned. Like, it's not really that dangerous. It's just, the business people are making a fuss over it because it's cutting into their market and such. Which is one theory I've heard. The other theory is that, yes, it is stronger than beer. Like, you just drink up the stuff and you're going wild. It's parsley. No, it's not parsley. It's partly hallucinogenic, they say. Like, you drink this stuff and you're going wild. They call it the green fairy for a reason. It's magic, man. And like, I'm saying, no, alcohol isn't magic. It's chemistry. It's made of scientifically understood chemistry and such. I know all about it because I learned about it in high school. We learned about alcohol. We learned about alcohol in high school. But yeah, the chemistry-based stuff, there's organic chemistry, as it's called. Stuff that uses carbon as its basic structure. And it leads to all sorts of things. Everything like alcohol and oil and fuel and such. And, even the chemicals that make up the smell that is used in artificial flavoring and such. And they're like, you know what? It's how it works. There's methane, butane, propane, and all sorts of things like that. What was that phrase the chemistry teacher told us? Monkeys eat purple bananas. And that was like the letters of the it's a mathematics sort of mnemonic sort of puzzle. You remember it because it's trying to explain a concept. You start with the first letters of those 4 words. Monkeys eat purple bananas, and that's the MEPB. And when the chemistry of it all increases in, from 1 to 4, that's methane, ethanol, propane, butane. Propane and propane accessories, I tell you what. And he's like, well, apparently the difference between propane and butane is only, a few molecules on the molecular level that's put together. And like, no, propane is what I live for, not butane. There's propane and propane accessories. And it's like, okay, Hank, okay. And it's like, the chemicals are involved in it and such. It's literally the numbers 1 through 4, and it's because it's structured together on a molecular level, carbon atoms and such. There's like methane. I think that's got like 1 carbon atom. Ethanol, I think that's got 2. Propane has 3. Butane has 4. It's sort of how they mix it together. And supposedly, there's even these odd theories I hear that margarine is actually some type of plastic or some type of oil. And I'm like, what? Like, well, on a chemistry basis, if we refine the oil and turn it into a useful liquid petroleum, we can use it to fuel the machines and run engines and big powered gas guzzling things like that. The planes that fly around, and all the trains and all the cars. And as I recall from the lore about Thomas the Tank Engine, the steam engines seem to be having a rivalry with the diesel engines. A diesel? You are infected with a diesel because all you do is guzzle diesel engines. And he's like, the fuck do you want, steam powered thing? Munched enough coal today, have you? Mm-hmm. Clearly not. You see, sophisticated machines like myself are built for travel and high-end work. We will be doing the work, and you will be left in the past as the archaic machine that you are, because you simply are a piece of antiquity, unlike me. And they're like, but what about electric cars? You shut your damn mouth. That's what you do. Thomas the Tank Engine. It must really suck to be like a sentient train, you know? You can't even drive wherever you want. You can't even walk wherever you want. Your life is always work. And then the fat controller, Sir Topham Hatt, the fat controller, he's like, all right then, engines, it is back to work. A hard shift is ahead of you, I should say. Oh, yes. The steam engines complain and toot their whistles and such, and like, quiet, you. Now, Percy, you must go to the other side of Sodor Island, and you must lift this whole heavy load of lumber. All those engines and tracks and trains are waiting for you. Yes. Toby, the square one. You are useless. Go to the coal mines, I say. And then Thomas is like, what do I have to do? Like, go to the port and collect the imported goods on the train tracks. You shall find other diesel engines there, and I expect you to cooperate with them completely. Fuck! And Thomas says. Thomas had never heard of such bullshit. Yet he steamed along anyway. Gordon, the biggest and strongest of the engines, gave a huff. What do I have to do today? Well now, Gordon, it appears that you have a long list of duties ahead. You must transport the milk trucks to their other end of Sodor. You must bring the heavy coal implements to the factories. You must move all this cargo and passports and such for the peoples who are transporting. Why do I have to be a train? Chug, 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 chug. And what is that guy, Henry or something? One of the trains just refused to work. He's like, I'm not going outside. It is raining. I do not want all this rain wrecking my good finished paint. I cannot be out in the rain. It will cause rust. It is unpleasant, and I will not have it. A fat conductor comes. Well now, you're a naughty engine. Dun, 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 dun. His music theme starts playing. Dun, 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 dun. Percy, I must have a word with you. An engine that refuses to work is of no use to us. This is your ultimatum. You shall return to work, and you will drag it, the workload, through the rain, no matter how much the sentient train carts comment. And yes, they are alive, just like you, except their job is to heckle you and tease you all the way during work time. Yet you are expected to deal with it. So, I don't want to do this. Then you leave me no choice, Percy. I will have to put the bricks up all over the train tunnel entrance. You will be bricked up and boarded, much like that Edgar Allan Poe novel, and you will have nothing to do but stare through a small little hole as you watch the rest of the world go by, while you are stuck behind a brick wall, forever trapped there, being a useless engine. You just see his eyes and an expression of horror as he looks out through the hole, and he's like, oh no. Consider yourself lucky, Percy. The other engine who dared disagree with me and dared defy my rule was stripped apart of his pieces. He was taken apart piece by piece and remade into a engine of sorts, an electric engine. All his gas and coal is used to power an electric motor of sorts. It goes to the farmhouse. And what's more, you must understand that he will no longer be moving at all. He has no wheels anymore. He's purely a stationary object, and that is his existence now and forever. And that other one we simply took apart and made it into a hen house for the chickens on the farm. Percy was disgusted by all this. It sucks being a train. Kitty cats are here. Yeah. Trains. What? Thomas the Tank Engine sure is a weird story when you think about it, and horrifying. Thomas, he had had enough, and he was saying, that does it, conductor. You've gone too far. Just you wait till I run right over you with my enormous tracks. Chug, 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 chug. But then the fat conductor simply walked off of the tracks. Thomas, I can see you are a very naughty engine, and that will have to be punished, you know, punishments. Oh yes, I'm very good at that. You will have to do double duty shift, and that is the most merciful punishment I can give to you. See what I've done to the others. He looks over and he's like, oh my god, they encased him in stone. Oh my god, they took him apart and turned him into an electric engine. Oh my god, the other one, he's been ripped apart and gutted. He's been turned into scrap metal and made into a chicken coop. What am I gonna do? Like, you are going to do work, that's what you'll do, Thomas. The fat controller looked off gleefully. He was just like, you bastard, why are you so evil? Either I'm a very silly man, or this drink is messing with my head. You know what they say, maybe you're more fun when you're drunk. Which they say to alcoholic people, which is not a good idea. Oh dear. Oh my, this is hardly at all about drink anymore, but I gotta tell you these stories. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Release the flying monkey. Supposedly, I was absolutely terrified by those things when I was a kid. And looking back on the scene itself, yeah, it is pretty wild for a kid to experience. There's people, you know, screaming out and in terror as the monkeys descend and fly and grab at people and rip them apart. Oh, it was awful. They took my limbs and they threw them over there. They ripped my chest out and they threw it over there. Well, that's you all over then, isn't it? Oh, my head, I'd be scratching if my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a brain.